Why, hello there. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Izzy, and we are going to be talking everything Premier League. We are going to start off with Manchester City against Burnley, a game that took place on Friday. So Man City is the team to beat. They have been for a while. We are talking about a team that has won a treble. They won 3 consecutive Premier League titles and now are the champions of Europe and the FA Cup. This is going to be a tough season for anybody who's trying to play against City. Because if you think that Friday was anything to go by, they're not at full tilt yet. And Burnley got the brunt of all of that. So Vincent Kompany is trying to play a different type of game now. He's trying to make Burnley more pleasing to the eye. He's trying to make them more cohesive and rather not be the Sean Dyche team that would try and win games based off of tackles, based off of counterattacks, or trying to suffocate a team by playing extremely defensive football. That did not work very well against them this Friday. And the reason why that happened is because Manchester City are lethal. Erling Haaland is a guy who does not need more than 3 chances before he scores a goal. Matter of fact, I think he scored within the first 2 minutes. It's going to be hard to see anybody being able to keep pace with City if they show this level of consistency when they are not consistent enough yet. And the reason why I say that is because throughout preseason, they've now lost Gundogan, they have lost Riyad Mahrez, and they have not looked like they are missing much of a step. They will only get better. City are usually slow starters. So the fact that they were able to dispatch Burnley with as much ease as most of the games that they had towards the end of last season speaks volumes about what their pretenders to the title are going to have to face. And the reason why I say that is because Arsenal took on Nottingham Forest yesterday in a game that I thought Arsenal would win easily. However, they labored to a 2-1 win. Now, for most Arsenal fans who are looking to this season to be the main challengers to Manchester City, they would have liked to see a game that was easily taken care of in the first half. After all, they did go 2-0 up after 30 minutes, only for them to be pegged back after 82 minutes by Nottingham Forest, who did not really offer too much to the game. But what they did do was show us that Arsenal still have a little bit of a cohesive problem to take care of. If Arsenal cannot bed in Havertz as they have Julian Timber, who seems to have taken to Arsenal like a fish to water, or Rice, who did have a very strong game, that number 8 position is going to be very important for Arsenal, because Granit Xhaka was a stalwart for Arsenal for the last 2 seasons. He had been magnificent. Now, he did have, the jury was out on him for a while, but he did prove that he was much more than just a midfield destroyer. He did chip in with a lot of goals and assists. Havertz is going to be much more of a creative player, and he's going to have to also get better defensively, because if they do not tighten up the cohesion in that midfield, because let's face it, it is a little bit of a rebuild compared to what they had last season as far as Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka were concerned. They need to get that cohesion better. A 2-1 win is not the worst thing. And on the other hand, Nottingham Forest are going to have to probably be a team that wants to play football a little bit better. They want to get out there and go after these teams. Now, it's the Emirates, so I understand after being beaten 5-0 last season, they don't want to see the repeat of that. But to wait until the 80th minute to attack Arsenal, and they did make the last 10 to 15 minutes of that game very nervy. They need to be a lot better in attack, and they need to have more confidence in themselves to see if they can not be one of the 3 worst teams this season. And that brings us nicely to Aston Villa and Newcastle, who Aston Villa, based off of the scoreline, are the worst team this weekend, but not because they are not a good team or well managed. The problem is that Newcastle are that good. Now, most pundits don't seem to have Newcastle in their top 4. I do. I think Newcastle are going to get better. And I do think that the signing of Tonali is going to be a pivotal signing because he not only acts as a midfield breaker, but he also has a pass in him that can split defenses. He seems to be bedding in well with the rest of the team around him, and him and Bruno and Joe Linton will have a very good link up in that midfield. They, to me, seem right now, other than City, as the team that will be a little bit more cohesive, because Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea have much more of a midfield rebuild than Newcastle have, because all they have to do is pretty much slot in Tonali in there. And going by what he showed yesterday, Newcastle are going to be scary opponents this season. They are going to be absolutely tough to beat, even more so at St. James's Park, because they blew Aston Villa out the water. That's not to say that Aston Villa are a bad team, and that's not to say that Newcastle are that far ahead in their progression as far as the other top four contenders. But to see what they did to Aston Villa and with the dominance that they were able to do it with, Newcastle are going to be serious contenders for that top four. I still do think that they are a little bit behind Arsenal and Manchester City. I do think that they will compete favorably with Liverpool and Manchester United. And out of those three, one of them is going to have to make their midfield and their defense stronger than Newcastle. I include Chelsea in this conversation because Chelsea are pretty much revamping their whole team. As far as the other three games that took place yesterday, Everton are the team that need to be worried the most. Everton have had a history of signing players for big money. They have a squad that is consistently underperforming, which is pretty sad for the big name that Everton have been. I am old enough to remember at least in part, the teams from the late 80s and a team that consistently fought for the title back then with Liverpool. So it's jarring to see just how far down they've fallen, and the fact that they can't win these 50-50 fights with teams that they need to beat at this point of the season. It is important for Everton to get a good start to the season. If they do not do that, they will be facing another relegation battle. And it's only but so many times that you are going to be able to escape these types of terrible starts before eventually you will find a set of teams that will be better than you, and Everton might be in that bottom three. They have proven over a consistent amount of time that they are able to galvanize their fan base and be able to harness that and get away from the drop. But as you saw with teams such as Sunderland, who every year defied odds by surviving, eventually they will go down. And if they keep on playing the same way they did yesterday against teams that they should be beating in and around them, they will go down. Same to the likes of Sheffield United, who have not invested heavily in their squad. And unlike other teams that are coming up, Sheffield United do not seem to have much in the way of consistency since the end of last season. Luton Town being beaten 4-1 is not a bad scoreline. It is a scoreline you would expect them to have, considering how good Brighton are. And Brighton are only going to get better. So Luton, Sheffield United, and Everton need to get better. There is not going to be any time to pick yourself up from the floor with a lot of teams still trying to invest in their squads. These three, in my opinion, are going to be the teams that struggle, probably alongside Bournemouth, who managed to get a 1-1 draw against West Ham. However, Bournemouth do have a squad that has a fighting sense in them, especially if I look back to when they got beat 9-0 by Liverpool, and the strength and mentality to turn that around in the away game that Liverpool had to come to Bournemouth. And despite Salah missing the penalty, yes, there is some luck that is involved down there in the table. But Bournemouth were able to rise above that. And I still do think that those four are going to be the weakest teams in the league this season. So that's all I've got to share for today, guys. If you like this video, please make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. Share. Let everybody know that we're here. I'm new, and hopefully me and you can go through this journey together and enjoy yet another Premier League season as it goes down. Thank you, and see you next time.